This is Roger Struckhoff with Syscon TV, Day 2 at CloudEXPO in New York in June 2017. We're joined by Matthew Finnie, and he's going to talk about, with Interoute. How about we name the company? Interoute, and he's going to talk about cloud without compromise. I don't believe you. I'm skeptical. Anyway, welcome, and let's talk about it.
Thank you for inviting me. So when we talk about cloud without compromise, what we're talking about is that when people think about, I need the flexibility of the cloud, and let's be clear, if you're a software developer, you're developing applications, you want to be successful, you want to have the most agile way of doing this. And I don't think there's any debate left, right? It's the ability to create applications and run them in a cloud environment. It's far more flexible. It's, you can balance resources, you can deploy quickly, you can serve a market and deliver a service as and when you make the money. So we buy this is clear. The issue for us has always been that Interoute is a European company, right? So we're everywhere in Europe, right? And we've got very big, deep reserves of capacity, and we've built our cloud strategy to deal with the specific challenges of Europe, right? And that is, you're dealing with 28 nation states, you've got data sovereignty, you've got Swiss don't want data leaving there, they want to know where it is. And so you want kind of public cloud flexibility, but you want a kind of private cloud compliance model. And by building it and integrating it into the network, right? So it's native, so you get cloud, you get network, it's one thing. It's global now, that's why we've come here to talk to folks. You can do more without kind of saying, I've got to change the way I think about everything. I've got to go out and use the internet. Is the internet going to be predictable enough for me? These kind of things. Yeah. It allows you to think, my banking app, I can do this. My security app, I can do this. Why? Because I then don't have to have the debate with the regulator about why this is good, because he knows, you're just adopting the same compliance that they've always used. Yeah.
So in the US, in theory, at some level, there's less complexity. I think unless you venture into HIPAA, which has 50 different regulations and maybe 51 including DC, but in theory, you solve these problems in a meaningful way in a complex environment. And so it's not a snap of the fingers, but yet in the US, you think you can apply these lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, I think you can. I think the thing about it is even if you're building, you're building out your cloud strategy, you're going to live in a multi-cloud world, because let's say, not just at an infrastructure level, at a SaaS level, right? Does anyone really want to be running their own payroll? Does anyone really want to be running their own email, right? Probably not. It makes sense not to. So, but you want to have predictable performance. So you want to have a kind of cloud fabric concept that says, if I work with this platform, this thing, which combines these resources, I can get to Workday, I can get to Salesforce, I can get to 365, and it's predictable, right? And I'm getting to them at a scalable, efficient, predictable way. But I'm also saying there are some things that maybe I don't want to send there. I need low latency, I need these sorts of things. I'm going to use that resource. It's moving to a world where you really are saying to the IT guy, the developer, the IT architect, the infrastructure is what it is kind of irrelevant to how you're going to use it, right? And it's slightly ironic for someone who's a big infrastructure provider to say it, but our ambition is to say to people, you can kind of abstract away the nature of the infrastructure, and it doesn't have to dictate how you develop. And therefore the developers have got more freedom, right? They've got more ability to do the thing they want to do.
One thing I learned years ago was when Einstein was working on relativity and realized that time was the fourth dimension. So it's like, now I can do things. Yeah. Now I can figure it out. So I look at IT, I think of, we spoke of a lot of internal sort of applications, but then there are also the ones that face the ecosystem or the customers, like logistics and supply chains and all those relationships, and AR and accounts payable. And then the third dimension, when you have customers, if you're selling consumer products or that sort of thing, the customer-facing aspect of what you're doing. And then to me, these days, the fourth dimension is mobile. Not quite a direct analogy, but it's mobile, and that's a nightmare because of all the, not only the myriad of devices and the security issues, but the randomness of people accessing it. Like, for example, United Airlines makes a mistake of having this really good app And I'm on my phone all the time just pestering them for different things that I never would have done before. So of those 4 dimensions, which ones do you most seriously address, and what issues have you seen within, say, the internal stuff, the ecosystem stuff, the customer-facing stuff, and then the mobile on top of it? How do you address, which of those dimensions do you address and how?
I think we address I'll give you 2 answers to this. I think if you look at a lot of our customers, we're addressing a lot of we give them people talk about bimodal, about 2 different ways of thinking about stuff, and whether you agree with it or not, you've got old stuff and new stuff, right?
There, whatever you call it.
And the problem is that our whole strategy is using this concept of a cloud fabric, which is kind of an integrated network cloud platform. You start to say, well, actually, I can bind all these things together. So mobile, for example, to us, is another access technology, right? And so, we're a big underlying infrastructure provider to a lot of the mobile operators. So we've got substantial interconnects with these guys, right? And so if you think about it, mobile, Internet of Things, this is all about access collection, maybe local data caching. In Germany, for example, with Internet of Things, if you're doing that, it's got to be local, it's got to be held local, same in Switzerland, right? There's also a performance issue, right? You don't want to be saying, well, I want to use the cloud, but oh God, the cloud's only in one location, I've got to drag it all the way back here. So the concept of this, giving yourself an infrastructure that optimizes your relationship with the cloud and then binds together those, if you like, those 4 different dimensions, and then gives you choices, right? Interoute by no means is saying we're going to, it's a kind of one size fits all, but it makes sense because it works with the lowest common denominator of all these applications, which fundamentally is, how do I present myself to the network?
Did you say Cloud Foundry?
No, I didn't say Cloud Foundry.
Oh, okay. I thought Cloud Foundation. I'm a little deaf in this environment, but you're looking at. That's what he said. Okay, but lowest common denominator. It's really sort of like base level platform you're trying to do. You look at it more like that.
Yeah, we look at it as we're the guys who will hook up all your offices, hook up all your data centers, hook up all your old legacy applications. And within that platform, we've also got all the big connectivity to the SaaS providers. We've got the big connectivity to the infrastructure guys. But, and this is the difference between us and, say, some of the other network guys, we've also got our own native cloud solution, which will be lower latency, higher performance. And because we're a network, we don't charge for data transfer. So we're going to be those big kind of thirsty applications. We're going to be heavy. And we work well with security apps, finance apps which are, people are saying, I really want that cloud flexibility, and I really want an IoT and these things, but I'm slightly not sure if I'm going to get it through my compliance body, right, or my HIPAA or these sorts of issues. So, we're a more efficient way of doing it, but fundamentally, it's saying that what you're saying is this concept of integration of cloud and network really says it's an interconnect fabric. It's a way of building out your platform, and it gives you choice. Because the thing for us is with most of these guys is you don't want to make your IT decisions for the next 2 or 3 years, right? Based on you know how you want to develop your code, right? But you don't necessarily want to then say the way in which I develop things is limited by the choice of infrastructure, right?
Right, therefore the name Interoute. Now, how do they find you online? URL?
www.interoute.com.
That's pretty easy. Matthew, thanks for joining us. You can find him there. And thank you for watching. And for SysCon TV, this is Roger Struckhoff.